All right.
Nice.
All right, we are live on Instagram and YouTube. Fred, thank you for doing this little talk with me, dude.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on.
I'm terrible at intros. I will say that in your last used Instagram story live stream, you had a wine, like a glass of wine you're drinking.
Yeah, I did.
I mean,
Game of Thrones, man. Oh, beer. Oh,
all right. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Fred, before we get rolling talking about Kickstarter.
yeah, man. So I'm a part owner of CHARON Comics. We just launched a successful Kickstarter. We raised over, I think, $6,000 to print Soul Survivor issue 1, which I co-wrote with Joshua Valliere. And then we raised the money to print Skyline issue 1, which I co-wrote with Josh. Then Adam Cozart was the artist on that. Daniel Pez Lopez is the artist on Soul Survivor. We also launched our first anthology book, which was Tales of Charon. And that book has, I think, 5 or 6 short stories of properties that we're trying to launch. Can't hear me, they said. Can you hear me now?
Uh-oh.
Can't hear him. I think they can hear me. Should be able.
Why
to
would
hear
the audio be cut off on Instagram?
that? I'm not. No, yeah, we're good here. Good here. Should be good. Can you hear me now? Could be my phone. 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me now?
Do you have your headset plugged into your phone?
No, it's plugged into my computer. Should be good. Can we get can somebody? You hear me now? I can always join out if I have to. But yeah, with that being said, so launched the Kickstarter. Everything went good. We had a successful Kickstarter, and we've been doing this thing for CHARON Comics for a while. Been at it for about 2 years. We have 3 books out now, and we're slated to have about 10 to 12 next year. And then that was our first Kickstarter. And when we went to what I'll do is I'll jump out of Instagram and jump back in. So when we went live on for our Kickstarter, we wanted to be absolutely 100% prepared, and worked out pretty good. So for our first Kickstarter, we overfunded, so it was really, really good. And we have a lot of good tactics that we used that I believe we can definitely help people out and show them at least a blueprint for what we did that worked.
Looking forward, because I left the Instagram.
What'd you say? I'm sorry, it kind of cut out for a second. What'd you say?
The Instagram thing, I don't think is working out. We'll probably have to do it just on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we'll just do YouTube. Sorry, guys.
People who are looking on, it didn't work out. We tried. Go to my YouTube channel / user / Justin Prime 1. Just talk live right now. All right, you guys still there?
Yeah, still here. Sorry about that for
Yes.
For Instagram.
No.
I don't know what's going on.
We tried.
But yeah, long story short, yeah, we did a really good Kickstarter. It went out really well. We have a lot of tactics that we used that I think could be definitely beneficial, especially for the indie comic community. So people that are trying to self-publish, get their own work out there, not having to go through a major publisher, kind of gear up for conventions, and always collecting like analytics and things like that to help you for future Kickstarters too. So.
Right on, man. Yeah, I definitely want to hear about what you did right. It seems like you did the opposite of what I did, which was everything wrong. It felt like.
I don't know about that. But
So the Kickstarter was run by you alone, or was there a team of people?
We had a team. I mean, we definitely had a team. The majority of the footlegging for this was, the artists that were involved helped promote it. Then myself, Joshua Valliere, and then we also had some assistants, major assistants from Bob Sally. I don't know if you're familiar with Bob Sally, but he is the author of Salvagers.
Yeah.
So it was a sci-fi book that he did. He got published through SourcePoint Press, and we have a partnership with SourcePoint Press now. So they definitely did a lot of helping, but primarily it was through Instagram, and I'll kind of go over how
Yeah,
Instagram
please.
definitely helped with that. So
Yes, please. Okay. Well, are you ready to kind of launch right into it, or anything else you want to say before we go?
yeah, man. No, that's pretty much it.
All right.
We can get right into it.
All right. Let's start off with what people should, what went well for you, and what went well for me. This last Kickstarter for me was a horrible failure, but I did do one successful Kickstarter with issue one. So we'll kind of go over some pros. How about start off there?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can start with
Why don't you take it away? What's the first thing you would recommend to people?
that. The first thing I would recommend doing is building a little bit of a following before you just dive into a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
For when you're going into it, if we would have done it as soon as we had Skyline issue one done, I don't think we would have funded. I really don't. I think
Yeah.
we had a decent following, but I mean, for our first book, and it just wasn't. It wouldn't be enough, especially for what we needed, which was 6,000 to print the 3 books. Well, 5,000, but we definitely needed to build some of the following. So we primarily focused on Instagram, building through Instagram. Really targeting people that are into indie comics, fantasy comics, sci-fi comics, and building a following. And then the focus was transitioning the Instagram following to email, right? So getting people that are genuinely interested from Instagram to sign up for the email list. So then when we launched the Kickstarter, we sent them all an email, and we had a big first day.
Tell me about the email thing. Kind of, I'm stuck on that because I personally hate getting emails. I don't like it at all, especially when I'm being marketed to. Do you find people are still interested in that, or that they responded well to that?
For writing, there's 2 things I think that are the most personable thing, because when you opt into an email list, you're giving permission, and that's something that you want
Yeah.
in your email. And I think email is a lot more personable and more close to the chest, if you will, than say somebody blasting you on Facebook or seeing a post on Instagram or something like that. If you can get somebody to sign up for your email list, that means there's a really good chance that they are interested in your product. Right. So when we were building the email list for the Kickstarter, what we were doing was we were kind of giving things away to get people interested and give them a reason to sign up for the email list, whether it would be discounts through our website, or a free book, or just for future publications. And we would drive them to the website to sign up for the email list using Instagram stories and Instagram posts and things like that. A big thing that we had successful was, anybody who signs up for this can get a free copy of Skyland. So we actually gave out, I think, something like 400 free copies of Skyland before we even tried to go to print for Skyland. So it was just, hey, anybody signs up for email list right now, you get a free copy of Skyland, right? So in turn, hopefully they would want that book printed and be interested in actually helping print the book because they read it. So that was the idea behind that. Ironically, we had more people backing the Soul Survivor book in the Kickstarter for individual copies, but it definitely helped. Yeah,
Right
it
on.
was almost like 10 to 1.
Oh, wow. Before I give you my pro, with the email list, how does that work? Do people respond to you and then you respond back, or do you kind of blast it out and then move on?
So what we do is we use MailChimp. I've kind of transitioned. We kind of have somebody actually handling our email now. But for the time period, it was just me. So we're using MailChimp. So all the emails that we compiled throughout like a year, right? We then started sending out, updates, summaries, letting them know when the Kickstarter is launching, what they can get, highlighting certain rewards, really highlighting the early backer rewards. So when people backed the Kickstarter, they knew if they backed in the first 100, they were getting also not only our books, but 3 books from SourcePoint Press as well. So they're getting 6 books essentially if they back the Kickstarter within the first 100 people. So that was definitely a huge help for getting the Kickstarter going, and then getting people interested in the email list. So
okay. All right, so my recommendation, and this is where I guess it's like my con wrapped in it as well, but you have to take it really, really seriously doing a Kickstarter. not something you can just put up and let go. You know, you really have to nurture it every single day. And I know I did that well with my first Kickstarter run. With this one, I did not. With issue 2, I did not do that very well. It's a big deal, right?
It's definitely a big deal. You can't just put something like you see so many Kickstarters that go up and they don't even have a video, right? Like
You do, yeah.
Yeah, you have to have a video. The video has to be engaging. Even our video, I think, could have been done better. I mean, it was a little long, but we're also trying to highlight 3 books. So I knew it was going to be a little bit longer, but ideally you want to keep it a little bit short and sweet. And then you definitely want to take the time. One thing I could say is really highlighting the rewards and not just having them listed. You want to actually have images of the rewards, so people know what reward they're getting when they get it, right? So that we had all the books, cropped. We had all the rewards cropped. So basically, reward 1 is $5. This is what you get, and then it showed, the download, like it on a tablet, and then showed the books that are included. So it's definitely take the time to make sure that you really hammer out what the rewards look like. Take the time to make sure that there's enough detail. People know there's enough story for them to read, so they can see if there's any interest. But the video is definitely very important.
Okay. Before we continue, we do have Brendan here. Brendan, what didn't work out? Brendan, if people are watching on YouTube and want to leave comments or questions, just let us know, right? Chime in.
For sure.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay. Or if you have a question, man, feel free to chime in as well.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, just because I was wondering if you two wouldn't mind going more into detail, the differences between your first Kickstarter, your second Kickstarter, or any successful or not successful.
Yeah, I think as we talk, I will go into more of what with this one I did wrong versus what I did right with number 1. So I think as this talk continues, you'll definitely get an answer to that.
For sure,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, the one thing that I think most people with a Kickstarter, the issue you run into in the beginning, you get this big push, right? And hopefully, in the beginning, you set up 2 things that you can get going. Like I said, the email list, so you can send people over right away, and then also creating like a Facebook event, and then inviting people to that Facebook event, so that it's almost like a launch party. Having a reason to back early, like I was saying. So for us, it was you get 3 free books if you back from SourcePoint. One of which is getting turned into a full-length feature film, which is Rotten Tail.
Oh, wow.
So that was huge. And then in the middle of the Kickstarter, what happens is it just dries up, right? So it takes, like, you get little action. You might have 2 people back, 1 person back out, 2 people back, 1 person back out. So you really need something in the interim to kind of have that push. So for me, it was crossover. I worked with Russell Nolte on this. He just did Pixie Dust. I don't know if you're familiar with Pixie Dust or not, but it was a Kickstarter. I think it just raised like $15,000, right? And
I saw that on there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we reached out, got to talking, and it was like, hey, if you do an update in your Kickstarter, sending some of the people that backed your Kickstarter to ours, we can do that for you as well, and highlight
that's a great
your
idea.
Kickstarter to send them over to yours. So, but thing is, you really want to find somebody that is like-minded and also has something to bring to the table, because you don't want somebody to also mooch and you mooch off them, because then it's not. It's only beneficial for one party, right? So you'd want to find somebody that's kind of close and similar to you, and build from there.
That's a really good idea. Damn.
Yeah, that helped in the middle of the Kickstarter. One thing that we missed out on was stretch goals. I wish we would have had the stretch goals listed from the beginning, and I wish we would have thought the stretch goals out a little bit further than we did. I think we were a little unprepared for the stretch goals, but that's just kind of some stuff for the inside. And then updates are huge. We don't want to overdo it on updates, annoy people, because some people might get too many updates and be like, you know what, I don't want to back this.
Yeah. That's a great idea, man, the crossover thing.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
How much of your planning? Oh yeah, that's phenomenal. How much of this stuff did you have planned out ahead of time? Like the crossover idea, did you find that during research? Was that your own idea? How much of this was planned out ahead of time?
Well, it first started with because Salvagers just did their Kickstarter, which is Bob Sally, and it ended, I think, like on day 2 of when my Kickstarter was going. So the way that worked was Bob Sally just did it out of the kindness of his heart. He's like, hey, the Kickstarter's over. We funded. Check out this Kickstarter that just launched. You guys might really like it.
Well.
So that helped, and that kind of had some light bulbs click off in my head. So when I was kind of going halfway through this Kickstarter, I'm like, man, it's slow, right? So I mean, like we're at like, I think we got to 60 or 70% funding in the first like week, right? And then after that, we had 3 weeks left, and then it was just like flatlining. So I'm like, well, let's take a look and see what worked so far. So day one, I mean, we can't do another Facebook event. That won't work. We already have, the email list is being hit up constantly. And I feel like most people that are getting these emails have already backed or they're going to wait till the end at this point. So how do we get new eyes on this outside of stuff that we can do right now? And that's when I was like, okay, well, what's something that worked in the beginning? And that was when Bob Sally did that at the beginning. We had this huge push. I'm like, well,
okay.
it would make sense to, because this is something we could do now. We can exchange, because now we have 100 backers, and we have some ammunition where 100 people have backed this project. Who else has 100 backers right now? And we can cross promote. So that's when we got in touch with Nolte and Pixie Dust, and definitely helped us get that push to 100%.
So that was a spur of the moment necessity kind of thing.
Yeah, it was more kind of just because you got to be flexible, right? You got to be a little flexible and kind of got to, if you're kind of in a rut, you need to figure out how to. I mean, you might have this great plan going in, but we all know how plans go; they fall apart, right? So you need to improvise and figure it out. So we figured it worked before; it should work again, and it did. It did.
That's wish I had thought of that. Great idea. All right, so that's definitely a pro and something people should do. How about like a contest? I did. I timed a sculpture design contest right around the middle of the campaign. It was a ton of fun. I enjoyed it. My followers enjoyed it. It got a lot of cool entries. I don't think it made a dent in the actual campaign. And in campaign number 1, I had done. I had drawn my character killing off a few established characters like Kylo Ren.
In Skyline.
No, that was. I had drawn Nyx from issue 1 killing off a few characters, and I had done this. What do you call it? Not a raffle, but like this image, and I picked one person or whatever to win 3 images. That seemed to help, and I had timed that toward the middle as well. Did you do any? I don't remember you doing any. Did you have like a contest or anything?
No, we didn't do any contests. We do a lot of contests in regards to finding artists.
You do.
So for instance, most of our contests are kind of primarily geared towards finding artists that want to break into the comic book industry, or if we're like for our anthology book that we're doing, we're trying to bring in new artists and get them incorporated. We really want to be the voice for indie creators. I mean, that's our goal in the end.
Yeah.
Is to kind of be that platform for them to kind of to get onto and really sell their work and put it out there. And then hopefully as we grow, we can bring on people and they grow with us. But in terms of an art contest, honestly, it didn't work out so well for sales when we were just doing digital sales for Skyline. So I didn't think it would translate. Kind of probably what you saw with your Kickstarter. I saw your comment. It was great. If I could draw, I would have participated in it. But I definitely can't draw. I'm just the writer, guys. But I don't see a transition between that and sales. But I do see it it's good for like advertising. It's good for brand recognition. It helps in those aspects. I don't know if it helps in physical sales or conversions. So I think
I don't know if it did either. I don't know if it did either. I think for issue 1 it might have, but honestly I couldn't quantify it for you if you asked me.
Yeah, I don't think it does, but I think it does help with engagement in terms of like social media, and I think it helps with engagement with getting to know your followers, and having that kind of connection in that way too.
I agree that's definitely big value just for that reason alone. All right, how many tiers did you have? I had in the first run Kickstarter last year or 2 years ago, however long it was. I had I think 9 tiers, and I was pretty happy with that. And then the feedback I got from people was to have more tiers kind of like add-on items per tier. So this time I had maybe at least 15, and I felt like it was too much, but I was trying to give people more options. Obviously didn't help out. How many did you have, and what do you think that should be at? I personally, I think less is more. Just the way I wish I had listened to my instincts. I think less is more. What do you think?
So for me, I feel like with a lot of Kickstarters, what happens is the more tiers you put in, the more it kind of drowns out what the purpose of the Kickstarter is for. So you see, like I saw a Kickstarter that had a tier just for T-shirts, you know what I mean, and apparel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that takes away from the book, I think personally, because it's like you have this tier for something that you want to keep all the rewards centric around your books, right? So if you're trying to do a Kickstarter for, I mean, this could be in general or any kind of Kickstarter, but we'll obviously keep it in terms of comic books. I wanted every reward to be about the comic book. So it was about digital, it was about print, and then it was about people that really, wanted to get into it. So giving them a little extra. So, and then also keeping it separate. So in terms of, if you want more, like for us, we had a reward just for people that, wanted the digital of the anthology book that kind of is like a free sampler of all of our books. So that was our low entry $5 reward. Then we had 2 other small rewards. So anybody that just wants Skyland, there's a reward for you. Anybody that just wants Soul Survivor, there's a reward for you. You just want to back the book. And then from there, it was, okay, now you want all the books printed, or you want, all the books digital, or you want, you want art with your book. That's fine. But we didn't have just a reward for just the art. Everything was focused. The core of each reward was the books, because that was the goal of Kickstarter, was for the books. We had 10. And personally, I would like to have less next time. I don't think we need.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I don't think you need that many. You can add them as you go, and I think that's something that we missed out on. I would rather would have opened up with like 5 or 6 core rewards, and then added 4 more throughout the course of it. So each week add 1 more tier. And then that's something else you can help market. Be like new tier for anybody that hasn't backed yet, or interested in increasing their pledge amount to get some extra add-ons. I think we could have done that a little bit differently, but I don't necessarily think you need 10 to 15 rewards. You just need to have some solid rewards that make sense. Another miss was we only had 1 reward tier that was in the $25 range. And that was our most purchased reward. And then after that, it kind of went up, and we had more people purchasing still. But I would have rather had a couple more rewards in that $25, $30 range versus not.
Yeah, my most backed was $35 for round 1, and I believe round 2 was actually not round 2, but round 1, $35. There was a significant amount there. And I believe that's the average backing that Kickstarter gets in general. I don't know about comic books, but in general, I think $35 is kind of the average.
Yeah, no, I think ours was right around the same when you factor in the higher rewards. We had a lot of people back we had a $200 reward that we had a couple people back, which was huge for us. That definitely gave us some added push.
Oh, wow.
And then we had the signed copy rewards, and some Pez's prints for his stubbies that he does. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but those are so good.
Oh yeah. They are.
So just having kind of some tailored rewards, and then the higher you get up, just making it feel that much more special, because it's more so if people are going to back more, it's because they really believe in the project, and they want those behind the scenes. Like when you buy Star Wars, you're expecting the Blu-ray, you're expecting really cool behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. It was trying to give them a little more taste of behind the scenes and some added stuff where they would appreciate it.
That's a good idea. You guys didn't do like stickers and big prints and T-shirts. I went the merchandise route, which in my first round was fine, but this one did not respond at all.
I wanted everything to fit in the size of to cut down on shipping costs. I wanted it to all fit in with the comic book. I wanted everything to fit in there. I didn't want to. That's another big thing. People will do big prints, and they're like, "Oh, this will be great. These will fly." And then when you realize you have to pay $10 to ship them, or if you're doing a T-shirt or something, it's just a pain, So I wanted everything to fit into the size of an envelope, the size of the book, right? So that was the idea behind that. So we didn't want to get too extravagant with it. We just wanted to keep it simple. So when we send one thing out and it's all right there, cut down on shipping costs.
Yep. No, that's actually I did the big prints for my issue 1, and I didn't have a huge number of orders, so it wasn't overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is kind of like 2 separate shipments because I had to ship out T-shirts in like one package,
Mm-hmm.
and then the prints in another one. So there'd be like 2 packages going to the same destination because you can't mix those together; they'll get messed up.
Right.
So having everything condensed into one easy for the fulfillment angle of it is a huge time saver, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Well, I'll be. Well, we got all the shipping costs and everything good to go, but the books we're getting in March, right? So they're going to be showing up in March. So once we actually start shipping them out, I'll definitely know. But hoping I made the right decision, which I think I did. So.
All right. Do you have a pro or recommendation for people?
Yeah. So we kind of were talking about crossovers. I think that was important. Email lists, I think in books in general, the most important thing you can do is really, like I said, build an email list, figure out ways how to market that email list. I mean, no one has all the answers in terms of marketing an email list because you can give away books, people can respond, you can do a contest, but really building that email list, I think, is lucrative. And then also maybe if you have permission to do so, because it depends on certain email lists you can't share, right? Because some people will be like, you can't share my information. But some email lists you can. So if you can share that information and you could share email lists with other, comic book creators, that can also go a long way too. So kind of the same thing with doing a shout out on your update for Kickstarter. You can also share your email list, say with somebody that has a similar following, and then send them or ask that person to send an update to their email list too. So I think email list is really important. If you don't have an email list, reach out to somebody that might and see if there's something you can offer them in exchange. A Facebook event's important, stretch goals. But in terms of like just kind of focusing on Instagram, the 2 things with Instagram, you need to make sure you have a Facebook page that's linked to your Instagram, and then and make sure it's set up as a business account. And then that way you can do the swipe up feature on your Instagram stories. Yeah. Swipe up is huge.
You got to have 10,000.
I don't think
you have to have 10,000 followers, right?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure you don't have to have 10,000 followers. I can look into that because honestly I don't know if that you might be right because I'm not in the.
I thought it was I'm at like 8,500 or so, and I don't have that option. But I'm not sure if my Facebook page is business. I think it is, but I'm actually not sure that I think about it.
You gotta make sure it's linked. Make sure it's a business account.
Yeah.
In order for Instagram to be a business account, I think you have to have a Facebook page. So
yeah, so I think it's 10,000 followers because I have not seen that option unless I'm totally missing it, which is possible.
That's a good thing to look into. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. But building an Instagram following up to 10,000 is a whole different conversation, as we all know.
Well, regardless, that the swipe up thing, yeah, I wish I had that at this point. I don't, but that would be a huge boost, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then also reaching out to people that have bigger followings for, comic book related accounts and asking them to, whether, you pay them $5 or what have you, to really, post that in the story, have the swipe up feature go. And then, it does get a lot of people going to your site. So it does help in that regard. We'd had probably at least an extra 100 to 200 eyes a day just from swipe ups, which definitely helps.
Wow. Okay.
So I would recommend that.
All right. So my that sounds like a great idea. My recommendation would be to book like in podcasts and whatnot, obviously, but I feel like you have to do that before the Kickstarter starts because most people you reach out to will say no or not respond. I have found
for podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know because for like issue 1, I had reached out to a lot of many, right? And I got a few responses, or they wanted like an email kind of interview kind of thing, or it wouldn't be posted in time. So before the Kickstarter launches would be a good idea. What do you think?
Honestly, yeah. So that was one thing. Towards the end of it, I was writing my own articles and posting them. So I have, I mean, as a writer, I love writing. So I was kind of just writing up stuff just to get people interested. I mean, it was from me. It wasn't like I was doing any ghost writing or anything like that. But I think it's important to have content out there for people to read. I think that's important. And that's my thing. If nobody's responding, there's two ways you can go about it. You can either, if no one's wanting to do the podcast, then you can either be like, okay, or you just do it yourself. You know what I mean? So it's going to have the same effect, maybe not as much of a big effect because you're still kind of tailoring to your own followers, but it's going to still be a positive. My recommendation is just do it. So, I mean, if I was trying to find people, I think Bleeding Cool did an article. One that really helped was Chuckload of Comics. That was it's a YouTube channel. He just does comic book reviews pretty much all day. Two guys, one review. I think he reviewed your book too. Yeah. And phenomenal.
He did, yeah.
Phenomenal guy to definitely. I mean, I like that he's unbiased, and I like that he tells the truth. So you're getting a real review. You're not getting some kind of just fabricated, this is good, this is good, this is good. You go to a site, there's tons of reviews that he has, like, of books, this book sucks, so he's very honest in that. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's something that we missed out on a little bit just because I didn't think it would be that hard. Now it's gotten a little bit easier because now we've had a successful Kickstarter. We're finally getting to the space where people are coming to us, which is nice. Which is a bonus, but it's also a double-edged sword, right? Because you don't know who these people are. You know what I mean? And it can make it a little nerve-wracking because you don't know how the interview is going to go, and you obviously just want it to be smooth. But yeah, no, definitely. I think beforehand, and then hold on to them, and then just post them throughout the course of it. I think that would be the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And you really kind of want to blanket as many podcasts and as you can, right? I would think so.
Yeah, especially if you're just starting out. I mean, we're kind of still just starting out too. We've only been around for like 2 years, like I said. But I think it's important to reach out to as many people as you can, especially people that primarily focus on indie. I'm not so much interested in speaking not that I don't like Marvel, DC, and Image, but I think it's important to embrace the community that you're a part of. So that, I mean, the overall comic book industry, but the indie community, I think, is very strong and very supportive.
I mean, if someone's looking for indie stuff and they get the recommendation about a Kickstarter, that seems like a strong kind of buy in that direction,
Yeah, I mean, you know how small the indie community is. Everybody's kind of like we all have the same followers or same close followers. Yeah. I think it's one person likes something, it spreads quick. I mean, Adam Coase, I'm sure you know Adam, right? He did a great job bringing the Skyland book to life, but because people knew who he was, that was some ground to stand on in terms of having some reputation going right into it. And then bring in Daniel Pez Lopez, who did Soul Survivor. So it was just kind of bringing in a culmination of, I like this artist, I like this artist, I like this artist, I like this writer, and then just spreads like wildfire, which is great. That's how we got.
You have amassed, you've amassed quite a collection of talented artists, dude. It's ridiculous.
I appreciate that, and it didn't come easy. It did not come easy. We had to. I mean, just kind of breaking into the comic scene, right? You can't. You're lucky if you can get a halfway decent artist to even like take the time of day to even talk to you. Like when I was pitching Skyland Soul Survivor around to artists, I knew how I wanted it to be. But the quality that you want, it's hard to obtain that type of quality when you're just starting, so that's kind of
dude. Wait, right out the gate, you guys are at a pretty high level. I don't want to go too far into this because I want to focus on Kickstarter. This might be a whole separate conversation, but seriously, like, you guys are kicking ass. Brendan, that was really helpful. Like a little speech bubble came up that I could see. That was really helpful. Marcos asked if this was going to be, I guess, saved my YouTube. Yeah, it will. He's what did it say? Marcos said that him and his friend are launching a Kickstarter or something like that.
This Friday. He's just saying it's good
Friday.
to go.
Okay, yeah, this Friday, Marcos, he's a really good artist on Instagram. He, I guess he's launching one. So yeah, this will be on my YouTube channel. You guys feel free to watch it. I'll leave it up.
Yeah, I think I know Marcos, actually. I think I follow him.
You probably do. So here, the other thing that with this round, I didn't plan out well on our lesson reviews. I didn't do a good enough job of that at all. But what I tried to do was to reach out to people that showed up in my news feed and kind of saying, hey, take a look at my comic. I'll let you read it for free. If you like it, share it with your friends and family, right? And a lot of people did respond to that. I have no idea how much of an impact it made, but I was kind of figured that sales might come directly from recommendations from people, or the comic and nerd culture kind of angle, So I reached out to a lot of big nerd culture accounts and artists that we share, like I follow, they follow me, that kind of thing. That was I don't know. Obviously, it didn't work out, but that was what I was aiming for. You got any thoughts on that?
I think that can be helpful.
Yeah.
I think when you're reaching out to artists and accounts, it's really just social media. That's the reason why I think email is so much more important than even social media in terms of sales. Because when you're looking at conversions, we got what, 17. I mean, just for the one account I have with CHARON, we have 17,000 followers, 17,500 followers. For us, even personally, people that are already interested in ours, getting 10% of that, right, would have been a little less than what our total. I think we had like 200 backers, right? So you can't rely on social media. Less than 1% most likely of your own followers are going to back you. I mean, that's kind of the realization behind it. Conversions are important. I think the best thing for conversions is email, and you can, through MailChimp, you can see how many people opened up your email, how many people clicked on the links, went to the Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
So I would strongly recommend, again, email. But yeah, reaching out to people like artists, things like that, kind of what you're diving into. I think it all helps. I just don't think that it's the biggest effect you can have.
Yeah. That's cool. So with the email, you tangibly, well, not tangibly because it's digital, but that it's effective. I didn't know. That's great.
Yeah, no, and you can see the percentage. I mean, analytics is huge. So even like same thing with the Instagram stories, right? You can see what kind of when people swipe up, when people click on stuff, you can see those analytics, and what's working, and then you can keep going back to that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? So same thing, like kind of jumping in with when the beginning of the Kickstarter, when Bob Sally shouted us out, and we had that big push, and like just knowing that worked. Just keep reusing it. You don't need to keep finding new and inventive ways. You can just go back to things that work.
That's a great idea. All right, let me see here. We're a little bit over halfway. We talked for an hour. We're about a little bit over halfway. You still good on time? You're good here?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Good.
You got time? All right, cool. I really struggled with varying up the images in my ads. I felt like I was using the same few images over and over again. And I also kind of feel like you did too, but you had the animations added to it, and it seemed to work.
Yeah. So generally speaking, with video carries a lot further, right? So in terms of when we're posting stuff on social media, video carries a lot further. So if you can add animations or small things, I'm a big advocate for Adobe. I think Adobe Spark is huge.
Yeah.
Like there's certain apps you can use to make your stuff very engaging, and you can reuse certain images, but make it new and fresh and engaging. So I mean, a good way to look at it is like these. So like for instance, these Star Wars trailers that are coming out, right? It's the same trailer. It's just diced up different ways. There's different effects, different views, different angles, but it's the same. You're seeing the same trailer every single time almost. So with this, it was just kind of taking that same philosophy. Like this image was good when we posted it. How can we reuse it again? Okay, well, let's add some animation to it. Okay, boom, it's out there because we know people like it. And then same thing. Now we could put it together in maybe like a minute-long, clip and put it in with other images that did well, right? So I think that helps. And then also going back to what you're saying with the contest, with the art contest, I think that helps in that regard, to having fresh images and a different perspective on it. Yeah. That helps. But
yeah,
again,
I mean,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
When I think of your campaign, the image that comes to my head is of Soul, the Pez drawing, looking up at Soul with the blood dripping down.
Yeah. That's
at Brendan's Brendan's agreeing.
Yeah, same. That's
Like the
definitely
image that I saw repeatedly, but I mean, obviously it worked. It's stuck in my mind, right?
Yeah, and then also kind of doubling back on why we chose that image to kind of get behind the most is that's the cover. Like that's an image from the cover. So I mean it's hanging right here on the wall. You can't really see it, but it's basically right here. So we took this and I cut out just Soul, right? And we used that in regards to kind of getting behind that. So when people saw that, and then when they saw the cover of the book, they kind of correlated. So I think that helped.
It worked really well. So I want to ask you also, what I love about the model you had going was that you had a number of artists that were pitching in, but weren't saturating their followers, and then you were, which makes sense because you're the publisher, right?
Right.
So that model seemed like a brilliant idea where it's like you're saturating, and they're throwing it in every now and then. They're throwing updates. This is a new print I have for the campaign, or my new stubby, you know? You guys had it going, and it freed up the artist to also create more. You know, and I felt like for me, what went wrong was I didn't have the time to keep creating exactly. And I also mismanaged my time, but I was kind of like, these are my images. I'm kind of stuck with it. And I didn't want to keep bugging my followers either, like saturating them with the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah. I don't know if that was so designed the way it turned out. Because trust me, I was on them every day. I'm like, hey guys, mind posting today? But no, it definitely worked out well because I think to your point, I think it came off the way that you're seeing it. On my end, I was like frantically like, just hey guys, if you could help me out today, you know. But it worked out well just because it came out the way that you're seeing it. But on the back end, and they did
Yeah.
They did an amazing job chipping in because at the end of the day, it's our jobs to get this stuff sold. Their job's to create it, and it's their job to because their job is, I mean, you know what it's like to create a book. You know how much time goes into it. I mean, you're going from especially if you're writing and illustrating yourself, which I believe you do, right? So you're writing the book, you're doing a summary, you're doing a script, you're doing a panel script, then you're doing the layouts, and then you have all the art out there, and it's so much work goes into it. You can't put that burden on the artists to do the selling too. I mean, it definitely helps because they have their following, but them chiming in the way they did definitely seemed a little bit more natural. You don't want to come off unnatural with these things. You definitely want to just kind of be natural about it and not be forced. And kind of to your point with saturating, but yeah, we're being the publisher, we want it out there every single day. But we also were trying to, towards the end of it, I was trying to figure out ways how to not come across too advertising, because normally our engagement is like 400, 500 likes a photo. It was dropping down into the hundreds, 200s, and I was trying to. That's because you're kind of. I normally do maybe one post a day. I was doing like 4 or 5 a day. So I was like really, really hammering social media.
But that's to be expected. That's you're selling it. I mean, I'm following you to know what you're releasing, because I'm interested in what you guys are doing. That makes total sense. The artists, I want to see them create new art, chip in. It felt more natural, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like they were trying to sell me exactly.
Exactly.
I love that, and it's like creating the book obviously takes a long time, but then the Kickstarter campaign, you have to set aside a few months at least. And those few months, like you're working on selling it, and you're not really working on creating the next thing, which for me sucks. I don't like that part at all. So I love that your artists were able to continue working. It's a great model.
Yeah, no, and they're still working right now. I can tell you that much.
I know. I saw an update from Petchok. Is it K Petchok about issue 2? Like he's rolling right along. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's doing a great job on. So I don't know if you know or not, but Adam Cozart is doing the Big Ballsy, obviously. You wanted to transition to which, and by all means, I think that's I think it's amazing work that he's doing. So we needed to kind of pick up the pieces with Skyline and transition into an artist. So Kyle's doing a great job on Skyline issue 2, and I couldn't be happier.
It's looking good. Outstanding.
If you guys don't mind me saying. Very quickly, I do apologize for interrupting, but from the CHARON
that's why you're here, dude.
the artists I follow all of them, well, most of them that I know of, and they're all phenomenal artists you have on the books too. The Adam Cozart, the Joshua, the Art of Josh, something or another, really good. Pez, Joey Cap, like all the artists you guys have are top tier. I like them a lot.
I appreciate it, then. I appreciate that. And as Art of John Paul's Sunga, Pez, Georgie Cabral, Kyle Petchak. Honestly, a big thing that goes very under recognized, underappreciated is the letterist. I think lettering is an art in itself. And we have AJ who does all the lettering for us, and he's phenomenal. I couldn't highly recommend it. He'd work with pretty much anyone. He loves what he does. I would definitely recommend, if you ever need a letterist, talk to AJ.
Yeah, you got a kick-ass team, dude. All right, let's move on to anything else you want to add that people should do before we move on to things they shouldn't do?
I think just kind of doubling down on your point, I wish we would have done a little bit more of the, having reviews out there, having, podcasts, videos, things like that. I think we were unprepared for that, media. So that's definitely, I need to be a little bit more organized on my end with that. But again, I think just focus on the email. And if you could build a strong email list of like 1,000, 2,000 people, you should have no problem funding a Kickstarter for 2,500 to 5,000. How many people
are on your email list?
Right now combined, we have, I think, a little over 7,000.
Damn, are you serious?
Yeah, that's where we're at right
now. I gotta get on that. Damn. All right. So let's talk about some things people should not do. For me, it's just like I said, you should take it seriously. Don't take it lightly. I think I took it too lightly. I think I was assuming I would meet my goal, and I actually lowered it from the first one. I think I took it way too lightly.
Yeah, taking it serious is important. Not that you didn't take it serious, because I know we were talking throughout the course of it, and honestly, I know you definitely cared deeply about your Kickstarter. I pointing into like our own faults. I think for me, when I went in, I was 100% unsure, because this was our first Kickstarter. This was your second, right? So this is our first Kickstarter. I didn't know what to expect. And the day I launched the Kickstarter, I was actually at luckily, like I said, we have a team, right? So I was at a music festival, and so we launched the Kickstarter, and I'm trying to manage this Kickstarter from a music festival, and I'm like literally in full panic mode. And then I launched the Kickstarter, everything's going okay, and then it was a little slow, and then all of a sudden I wasn't taking a look. I looked back at my phone, and we're already at like almost 50%. I'm like, this is, or not 50%, I think it was like 25%, 30% on the first day, and I was like, I was just floored. I'm like, okay, we already raised over $1,400 or something in day one, and I'm like, this is more than I already expected on a day one. So all the hard work going into it paid off with the automation's key, I think. So having the event page, things like that, automating it so you can focus on the small things while they're doing the repetitive work. I think that helps.
Okay. All right. So yeah, don't take it lightly. It's really like you're posting 4 or 5 times a day. That's a lot. Running a Kickstarter campaign is really almost a full-time job. Like if you do it right, I think I'm on it every day.
Yeah, it almost becomes obsessive.
It definitely can, yeah.
You're like checking your phone every 5 seconds. Want to respond to emails promptly. One thing I would say don't do is, in terms of something that we did try that absolutely did nothing, was, how when you do a Kickstarter, your inbox floods with people like, hey, let's promote your Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
All those,
God, I hate that.
Those bullshit ads, right? We made well, I didn't personally, but somebody on my team, and I won't name any names, made the mistake of doing that, and I would have advised against it if I knew. I think they invested like $200, $250.
How'd it go?
It did nothing. It literally did nothing. I'm like, you could have.
How much was it?
It was like $250. He put like $250 into this.
Oh.
And
wait, 250?
Yeah, $250. And
damn.
And I'm like, I wish you would have told me beforehand or asked or talked to me
yeah.
about it, because I totally would have strongly advised against it. I don't think it literally did nothing.
Yeah.
It did nothing.
Yeah.
Some advice that I also, sorry to double back down on that, Facebook groups. I think a big mistake I did was primarily focusing too much on Instagram, not enough on Facebook. For me, Facebook, I love, it's a love-hate with Facebook. I think Facebook is a money pit for a lot of things. Like if you post something, you have to like pay to get your post in front of your own audience, which I think is absolutely bullshit. And then I think it's hard to market on Facebook for something that people don't know, and you're kind of just throwing money away. But one thing that can be very beneficial, and you can get outside of the realm of, you know, in terms of money, is posting in Facebook groups. So finding those comic book related Facebook groups, indie creators, things like that, and then posting daily in there, updating them, giving them the link to your Kickstarter, posting your articles, the podcasts, the interviews, things like that in those Facebook groups. I'm a member of like 35 Facebook groups, and you can't just dive right in and post your own stuff. You have to kind of, talk, engage with the community, and then start posting your stuff, and then people will be a little bit more responsive. But I think that was something that I did not anticipate going into the Kickstarter, and we started anticipating it, like kind of same thing halfway through. I'm like, what do we got to do, because we're in this slump. And once we started posting to Facebook and really engaging these groups, it definitely helped.
Well, that ties back to, I think, the first thing you said, which was how important the community social part of things is. So you're really investing in the community before you ask for their money, really, or before you try and sell them.
Yeah. I think it's very important for in terms of, you had to give value. I know we were talking about this value. This is value. What you're doing right now is value. And it's important to, why would anybody want to buy something from you or listen to you if you're not bringing value, right? So just dropping a book, being like, hey, I created a book, check it out. People are going to be like, well, who the hell is this guy? Why should I buy his book and not, this person's book who I've been following for so long and that has added value to my life? People that watch this podcast, this video, will probably end up buying some of your books just because you've helped them fund their own Kickstarter. I think that's very important. You're giving back to the community without asking for anything, which I think is important.
Yeah.
Can I ask a
that's kind of, dude.
Just as far as the platforms are concerned, would you recommend Facebook, Instagram, staying with two main ones, or would you recommend opening up a Tumblr, trying to get on Twitter, cross-promoting on different platforms? How do you feel about the number of platforms, I guess?
My primary focus has been Instagram, and I still believe in Instagram. I don't think Instagram is where Facebook is yet in terms of how targeted you can be. I think it's getting there. I don't like how your live story goes away in 24 hours. I don't like. I mean, we obviously just had issues with going live on Instagram right now, which kind of sucks too. But I think there's definitely some tweaking that they need to do on Instagram. I think Facebook is definitely. I think I underestimated Facebook completely. I think that could have been a big help. So the next go around, I think we'll definitely have a bigger presence on Facebook. Twitter is one of those things, man. It's a love-hate. I like Twitter for. I think it's going to be big for. I think it's important for YouTube. I think it's important for things like that. I think it's important for. I think it can work. I think Twitter can work. I just personally, I'm not on Twitter a lot. I think it could work. A Tumblr. I think we made a Tumblr. I've never posted anything on it. Or Pinterest. Yeah. I've never done Pinterest. I think we have a Pinterest just because we didn't want somebody taking the name. But again, we've never posted anything on it. I think Pinterest could be big because you get one big pin and it could blow up. There's things like that, but I just primarily focus on Instagram, and I'm going to start focusing a little heavier on Facebook as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think just common sense, do you focus on what you know? I think I know Instagram pretty well. I think I learned a lot also through this process. Facebook, I don't care. I don't like it too much. I like to post photos of my kids and catch up on news through Facebook, but I don't. It's I don't know. It just makes sense to. And I'm a one-man show. It's like, well, actually, Brendan, you're helping out now too, but I don't know. I think you can only spread yourself too thin as well. But
yeah,
I didn't fund the second one successfully, so maybe I'm talking out my ass. I don't know.
Well, I have a question for you guys, because
Yeah.
I've been this way since we started. I've never really engaged with my personal account in terms of comic books that much. Facebook or Instagram. I never wanted to have to rely on family and friends. And it was weird for me, because this go around, I did broadcast that out there, and like 95% of the people that know me don't even know that I even write comic books. Yeah, which is wild. It's not like a secret life or anything, but I just never wanted to have to rely on that. I wanted to rely on my own merits and things. But to me, I think that was something that I needed to let go of, and just kind of start bringing people into my personal life a little bit, and kind of being a little bit more open in that regard. Because I think, and also being like, just being more presentable in terms of letting people in on who I am as a person, I think helps as well. So I get now I get a lot of requests from people that follow my Instagram account, trying to follow my personal account, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, there's a point where it's like, is this too invasive, or is this something that I really wanted to let people in on? But I can say, I think in terms of, if you're trying to sell books, the more personal you get about it, the more that helps, especially with a Kickstarter too. Yeah. So it definitely got a huge push from family and friends as well. So I can't just say it was just all, people that, just start following us on social media. But it was definitely for me, it was an awkward thing to kind of be like, hey, family, friends, things like that. But I think it's a necessary thing, and I would advise towards it, but definitely keep like a boundary where, you don't get a little too carried away with too many crossing over personal and business. But yeah.
I think that it's something I would recommend people do, but I would not follow my own advice. For me, with issue 1, I told people, if you're not into it, don't back it. I don't want you backing it out of pity or because just to support me. Like, I don't want your money. I want to sell you a book that you're interested in. I don't just want you to, to back it just to be nice. I want an accurate reflection of how many people like it and are willing. Told people, don't back it, like friends and family, unless you genuinely want it. Like, that's cool, but otherwise, like, I don't want your pity. So that's how I am. I want a genuine reflection of, this is what my thing is worth. This is what how much they're interested in it. And I think with the first issue, I had my parents threw in like a couple hundred, which is, I didn't like, was upset, but really that kind of definitely helped push me over the top. With this one, I don't think any friends and family backed it, and I hit 56%. Like, it was pathetic. I don't think the friends and family made up that much. They didn't make up half of it for the first run, but I definitely felt their presence,
Right.
So for the second run, I didn't feel the presence at all. And I do feel like that definitely took a huge hit. So I would recommend people do it. I think I'm still stubborn enough to, if I ever do this again, that I wouldn't want, I probably wouldn't change that aspect of it. But I don't think you can go wrong with it, honestly. That's just me.
Yeah, I honestly, I would recommend probably doing it, especially when you're starting off, until you get to the point where, you have a big enough backing where, you don't need to rely on family and friends. Yeah. But even for us, I mean, I think maybe like 10, 15, 20, 10 to 20% range was family, friends. And then the big bulk of it.
That's significant. That's a big amount, dude.
Well, that's about $1,000. You know what I mean? So,
wow.
It was, at least for us, I don't know. I mean, it varies for everybody, right? But it definitely helps. And it was definitely something I would advise doing if you're just starting out. And get a couple Kickstarters under your belt, and then, then maybe close that floodgate. But I would keep it. You gotta grind, man. Everything you could do.
Yeah, I do. That's just me. All right. So the The other thing that I will say don't do is to do numerous things at once. I did that. Of course, I could focus on just the Kickstarter. I found that I didn't want to. I wanted to continue to be creative and develop things. But just a little list of what I was doing while I was doing the Kickstarter, which was not a good choice, but I have no regrets. Number one, I was building a brand new website from the ground up, which takes a long, long time. I held my Sculpture design contest, which fed it in the Kickstarter, but really, I was doing commissions. I was doing a mentoring thing with Brendan here. I was doing video editing. I was, plus the daily stuff of being, a family man and having a career. So I had a lot of stuff going at once, and that doesn't work for Kickstarter. You really have to put your time into it. And I found that I wasn't willing to sacrifice all of it.
Yeah, I agree. If you're, you definitely want to keep. I definitely agree. I mean, you kind of touched on everything. I was just getting done talking to one of my artists, and it's family, friends, work. Because a lot of people in the indie community, this is their not necessarily a hobby, but this is their side thing, right? I mean, they want it to be their full thing, but it's their side thing. And it's difficult to allocate the time and resources that you need to drive a successful Kickstarter if you're being pulled in a million directions.
Well, and I chose some of those directions. That was voluntary. Right.
No, absolutely. We're all guilty of self-inflicted wounds, right? So, but with that being said, I think doing some of those things probably helped, right? I don't think the contest was a bad thing, nor was it like super time consuming. It might have been time consuming in terms of like reposting and like keeping up on it. I don't know if you were, were you drawing with it, or were you it was just the contest of people creating the character, right? That's what it was.
Yeah, the contest was something that I advertised, but no, I didn't feed into it myself.
Right. Okay. So that was kind of doing its own thing, and then you would just repost and like share them and stuff. That's definitely gonna be time. Like,
but actually no, because I had to create the advertisements for it, and then I created this sheet for people to kind of have some understanding of my Sculpture verse, so they could build off of. Right. So it did take a little bit of time, not too much, but the point was attention goes. Right. Instagram, I don't think you want to post too much. You want to have a couple hours spread in between each post. And if I post about a contest, I don't get mad about my Kickstarter necessarily, because that doesn't help you in the rankings when it shows up on people's feeds.
Right.
If you spread it out a couple hours each time, that's what helps. But anyhow, it's kind of like I used up my posts for things other than the Kickstarter. You know what I mean?
Yes, I get you.
Not a huge deal.
Well, and then also,
but I think the biggest thing was my attention was not entirely on the campaign. That's the biggest thing is I put toward the other stuff, and I didn't do that.
Yeah, you really got to almost annoy yourself with how much you're posting about your Kickstarter. To be honest, that might be some of the best advice I can give. Until you're so annoyed where you're like, I don't even want to see my own stuff anymore. You got to keep doing it. That was kind of. It might have been redundant. It might have been annoying. It might have been too much. Who knows? But you really need to just focus on your Kickstarter and trying to be as engaging as you can. Like 1 week I would do just picture posts. Next week I would do animations. I would do little videos. I would do links to stories. It's trying to be as engaged as you can and make, how much different ways to share the same stuff, and trying to figure out different ways to, keep people intrigued and engaged. And I had a plan going in, and then halfway through the Kickstarter, I'm up there creating new posts. I had literally a whole folder full of things I was going to share in my story that I didn't even use, and I was just kind of improvising on the day because I'm like, this will work better. So you got to be flexible, but kind of definitely want to have a plan going in.
Yeah, having a plan really well for the first issue, it did help a lot. This one, I basically recycled the same plan, and it did not work out quite as well. And my heart wasn't into it like it was with issue 1. If I'm honest, like I didn't have that same 30-day drive like I did with issue 1 there. Yeah,
it's definitely, you have to have a lot of Red Bull, a lot of coffee, and a lot of just sitting in front of a computer and on your phone.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the extent of a Kickstarter.
It's a lot. Yeah. All right, dude. It's been about an hour. I appreciate your time. You have any final thoughts, maybe for people that might be starting up a campaign soon?
For people starting up a campaign, I would just say, again, kind of reiterate some bullet points here. Focus on the email list, building up an email list. Have a bit of a presence built up on social media before you go in. You don't want to be launching a campaign with literally like 50 followers and no email list. I mean, you might get lucky, but I would say it's 10% luck, 90% drive, skill, and preparation. So having email list, take a look at the people that are doing Kickstarters right now. What's successful, what's not. There's that. What's that? God, I can't think of it. Scully is the rat Kickstarter that did really well. You know what I'm talking about? It was like the mice. It was the mice. I can't think of it. Oh my God. Well, anyways, it raised like over $60,000. It was the month right before mine, and I think it was ending.
Wow.
But I pretty much modeled the way we did our rewards in terms of the imagery off of how they did theirs to keep it similar. So taking a look at successful Kickstarters, I think, is something that shouldn't go overlooked, and then kind of modeling it off of that. Finding somebody that's doing a Kickstarter during the same time so you guys can help self-promote. I think that's big, and you can share each other's updates. I think that's big. Facebook event is important. The swipe up feature on Instagram is important. Facebook groups is important. And then one thing that I think we totally missed out on is how we manage stretch goals, but that's something that we learned from.
But I mean, it's not going to make or break you.
It could have helped. It could have helped. Like
Right.
you have, there's an artist, I forget, Jamie Tyndall. I don't know if you're familiar with Jamie Tyndall or not, but his whole campaign was focused around stretch goals. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, he has his different art books, but his goal, I think, was to raise 2,000. I think he raised like 30 grand, and it was all about the stretch goals. So it was, hey, back more, you get more stretch, more stretch goals. So I think that something to learn from that. And I wish we would have put a little bit more attention to detail. We did have something planned, but it kind of fell through because the artist that we were going to work with and we were going to incorporate into that we're actually going to pick up for a book, we found out some things and we had to kind of go our separate ways. Because when you're first starting out, you got to be very, very careful about who you're, getting into bed with, if you will. But yeah, no, it was definitely important to us. So that kind of fell through on the stretch goal stuff. So we were kind of scrambling towards the end. We had to change something for the Kickstarter, but it worked out. I mean, it funded. I think we definitely left some money out on the table. But we'd definitely be more prepared next time, so that way we can get more books in more people's hands and the word out there a little bit better.
Cool, man. I really appreciate your time. I heard you drop a couple of Gary
Vaynerchuk.
Right, or what?
Yeah.
You mentioned him in your one of your recent live streams announcing your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Gary V is probably one of the, to me at least, one of the most influential personalities of a self-proclaimed brand, if you will. He's all about taking action.
Yeah.
Like I was live on Instagram and somebody was asking me questions about kind of going over different things in terms of, how do you get published? How do you get into this? How do you do that? And it was just more along the lines of, you just got to do it. Like if no one's going to pick you up as an artist or as a creator, if you don't have a book and you want to be an artist working on a project, but you got to have stuff to pitch around, and you have to prove that you can do the work first and show people that you can do the work first, and then people will take you seriously.
Sure.
And it's all about taking action. It's all about doing, not talking about it. There's a lot of people that talk about it, and not enough people that do it.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's
well. I'd like to do kind of like a roundtable discussion on how to incorporate Gary V ideas into art and comics and publication. I would love for you to be a part of that when I do it, man.
I'm down, man. Anytime you want to talk, I'm in.
Cool. I'll let you know. All right. Well, hey, thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. There's an interesting quote that I like to keep in mind, which goes, "It's better to have an opportunity. It's better to be prepared and not have the opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared." And I think that goes far with people when it comes to, you know, just saying like, I really want to do this, but you don't have anything to show itself. So just along the lines of what was said.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think just to kind of touch back on that, like you could either. I was terrified launching my first Kickstarter. Like, don't get me wrong. With all this preparation, I mean, we were building up for this Kickstarter for like literally a year and a half, and to launch these books and do it the right way, and editing the videos. And I think one thing that we missed talking about it, going live, engaging with your following. We were teasing stuff throughout the entire process before we even dropped the Kickstarter. When we were editing the Kickstarter video, I was going live on Instagram, talking with hundreds of our followers, just going over, you know, hey, this is what do you guys think, getting their feedback. I think that goes a long way too. But the big thing is I was terrified. I didn't know what to expect, if it was a bomb, if who knew, you know, anything could happen, but it was all the preparation. But the biggest thing is if you won't know until you do it. And if you fail, then you just learn from it and you move forward. You can't let things get you down.
I can attest to that. For real, man. I haven't missed a beat. It's like, all right, cool. Pick up the pieces, move on, learn from it, and you know, and build from there. It's not a defeating thing, honestly, for me whatsoever.
Do you plan on relaunching?
I did the Kickstarter because I can fund the printing of the books in a very small quantity. I can just do that, right? And there's my followers, I know they want to own it, so I want to do that for them. It's the merchandise that I can't afford out of pocket. So really the Kickstarter was more about the t-shirts and the stickers. So that's what really killed me. So my plan now is just to do a very, very, very limited run. And if I sell out of that, I'll do it again. I
can help you in terms of, you know, merchandise and stuff. We'll talk about that offline, but in terms of merchandise, there's things I can show you that might help. All
right, man. Well, why don't we end it there? We can keep chatting, but we'll stop it there. So thank you so much for your time, dude. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Brendan.
See you guys.